Hey everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Mayank and today I'm going to share with you a system design cheat sheet. So basically I have already created a video on system design crash course where I started from complete scratch, that was client and a server architecture, and then we built a complete scalable architecture. The link to that video you can find it on the top. It might appear somewhere here, or you can go to my profile and you can check it from there, or it is available in the description so you can check it out from there. So that video is a prerequisite if you're not aware of system design concepts, and if you're aware of all the system design concepts, then you can basically skip that video. Okay, so in this system design cheat sheet that you can see on your screen, there is a table of content where I've listed all the important topics, and then I've given a brief explanation of each topic and a diagram to explain that. So basically we are starting from a basic client server architecture where we have a client, where we have a server and a DNS resolver. Client says, oh, I have a URL, can you give me the IP address? Client sends this request to the DNS resolver. DNS resolver responds back with the IP address. Clients make a HTTP request to server and server sends a response. Okay, and in real world, we don't use HTTP, we only use HTTPS. So this is a very basic architecture. Then we have vertical and a horizontal scaling. So as your app gets popular, single server is not sufficient. So what do? You have two options, either vertical scaling or horizontal scaling. Now vertical scaling means adding more resources to your single server, but there's a limit to that. So that's why there comes a concept of horizontal scaling. Now when we have decided we are going to do horizontal scaling, then we have multiple servers and we don't know how to distribute traffic. So we have load balancers. There are two kinds of load balancers, layer 4 and layer 7. Now in depth, difference between layer 4 and layer 7 load balancer and why they are used is already explained in my that crash course video, so do check it out. It's a prerequisite actually, but I'm assuming that you have already checked it out. Now in real world, we only use layer 7 load balancer because we can route a packet based on URL, path, header and cookies. So that's why in real world we use layer 7 load balancer, that is application layer load balancer. Then there's a requirement to deliver static content extremely fast without latency, and for that we have CDNs in place. So CDNs generally serve only static content. So this is the example of what architecture would look like without CDN and what architecture would look like post adding CDN. And CDN is part of any modern architecture. Then once we have added CDN, we need to make sure that we don't hit database for every query that we want to make, because database queries can be expensive as they are stored in a persistent storage. So that's why what we add a layer of in-memory data store, that is Redis. Now we have added Redis, but there is a problem with having single database. It is prone to failure. That's why we introduced database replication. And for choosing the leader, whichever database among replica will be a leader is chosen by leader election. I already have a video on my channel on leader election, so do check it out. Then once we have replicated our database, our application is extremely strong, extremely powerful, but there is again a problem as our app is getting popular. Our data size is increasing, and to handle that with one database is a big issue. So we add sharding. We shard a single database into multiple smaller databases that we call shard, and then we make sure that each shard is also replicated. So database sharding is dividing your database into smaller chunks and then making sure that they are also replicated so that we avoid single point failure for any shard. Okay, then we have messaging queue. Messaging queue is the heart of any modern architecture because we want event-driven architecture, and event-driven architecture is impossible without messaging queues. So basically what we do is that we get a lot of requests, we drop them on the queue, worker can pick them whenever they want, and then once they are completed, they can send the response back to the server. And users will feel like their request is served immediately. Instead, what is happening in background is that we are serving at our own pace. Now, this is what the architecture would look like without messaging queue. It's a synchronous architecture where user has to wait for a longer time. Then we have a architecture where we have added messaging queues, and now we have independent workers that can work independently anytime they want. And user feels like its request got completed instantaneously. Then we have blob storage in place because we cannot store binary files like images, files, videos, all these other kinds of stuff in our database. Instead, what we do is that we store them on a blob storage, and most popular blob storage is a S3 bucket. Okay, with blob storage, this is what the architecture would look like. Client will upload a file, app server will generate a pre-signed URL. Now, if you're not aware of pre-signed URL, I have already explained it in my crash course video. So that's why I'm suggesting that whatever it is a high-level overview of whatever I've already explained so that you don't forget that mind map and you can revise that mind map easily. But that video is a must watch. So I'm assuming that you have already watched it. And then there's a pre-signed URL. With pre-signed URL, that binary file is uploaded to a blob storage, and from blob storage, it is served to user via CDN. Then we have consistent hashing because when we have n number of servers and we want to distribute keys across them, then using a naive hashing can be a disastrous in system design. So that's why what we do, we use consistent hashing to make sure that in case a server is added or removed, we have to do a very less key movement. Then we have real-time communication patterns like WebSocket, long pooling, short pooling, and servers and events. And all of them have their own purpose. All of them serves an important purpose. So if you're designing something like a notification service, then servers and events your answer. And if you're designing something like real-time chat application or multiplayer game, then WebSockets is your answer. And knowing which real-time communication pattern to use is very important, because if you end up choosing a wrong communication protocol, you might end up destroying your application and you will get rejected in your interviews. So this is extremely important. Then we have idempotency key. Idempotency key is very important in distributed architecture when we are dealing with payments, because we want to make sure that we don't end up paying for one item twice in case we have some kind of failure or some kind of breakdown in our system. Okay, so idempotency key helps us to make sure that if a request is coming from a same user, we don't charge it twice if we have already charged once. Okay, so idempotency key is that important. Then we have CAP theorem. CAP theorem stands for consistency, availability, and partition tolerance. So in real world, we have to compromise between consistency and partition tolerance, or availability and partition tolerance. And in real world, AC, that is consistency and availability, is not possible. Why? I have already explained that, you can check it out. But in real world, AC is not possible. In real world, you always have to make choice between these two, either consistency or partition tolerance, or availability and partition tolerance. And once we have done with this, there's a full production architecture where we have a client, where we have a CDN, DNS resolver, load balancer, then we have multiple apps, then they are connected to Redis, how Redis deals with shards, how shards are replicated, then we have messaging queues to make sure that we can achieve the goal of event-driven architecture. Then we have asynchronous worker that depends on messaging queue, and then we have blob storage, and data from blob storage is served to user via CDN. So this is the mind map that you have to create. And if you have this mind map in your head, you can answer almost all system design interview questions. Now, this is a very important mind map for all the components that we have in system design, so that you can know which one to use when and where to place each. Okay. Now we have real world architecture, architectures like Uber architecture, Instagram Reels architecture, Google Docs architecture. I already have videos for them on my profile, and soon I'll update those architecture also in this crash course video. Honestly, I'm not getting time because I changed my house and I'm busy with all those other stuff, so I'm not getting time, but I'll update it here. And I have made a list of 8 important architecture that once you know, you can answer almost all system design interview questions. I'm trying to make videos on all of them. Video on Redis architecture is already on the way. It will be uploaded by the end of this week. So once I end up making architecture videos of all the remaining architectures, I'll add those architecture diagrams also here and give a short write-up about them, so that once you have watched my video, because my videos are going to be 50-minute long because I'm diving deep into the architecture. But if you are preparing for your interviews, that is good. But before your interview, it's not possible to go through all 50-minute videos, right? So the goal here is that you watch all of my videos, in-depth videos, without skipping. And once you have studied them, then just to make sure that you're not forgetting them, and before your interview, you can go through this cheat sheet, revise all the stuff, and be confident in your interview and just seize that system design interview opportunity. So that is the goal with the system design cheat sheet. Now, if you find there's any issue with this cheat sheet, if you have any questions, if you think that something is wrong, please make sure that you raise an issue, you create a PR or anything like that, just to make sure that I get those feedback and I rectify it, so that other people can be benefited from them. So this is it for this video. I have added all diagrams that I had on my crash course video in this cheat sheet. So if you have gone through that crash course and want to revise it, or want to revise that mind map, then you can check out this cheat sheet repo, and link to this cheat sheet will be in the description. So do check it out from there. And if you haven't subscribed to me, please subscribe for more such informational content. And thank you very much.